Welcome back. We've had a week off for Easter, but we're straight back in. And this week, if you've been following the Facebook feed, you should know that we're doing Summer of '69 by Bryan Adams. I've been playing this one for years and years and years with the Bandyoki band that I was in with Adam. So over the years, to make it a bit more interesting for me, I've kept the essence of the song, but I've kind of embellished it just to keep my sanity more than anything else. But it also helps with keeping the audience sort of motivated and interested in what you're doing. So yeah, to sort of move things around, pick things up, make them a bit more interesting. I'm a fan of that. I know that a lot of people online will find are very, very strict about playing it precisely to the way that it was done in the original, but I'm for a little bit of movement if it just keeps it interesting, and it certainly will keep the crowd's interest, and that's what we're after. So we're going to go straight in, and it's relatively straightforward, this one. We've got our eighth note pattern that we've been using for most of the songs we've been doing so far. When we're counting this in, we'll be counting the guitarists in, because we need to do a snare note on beat number 4. And then we're out again when the guitarist does his riffs. So what we would do is we would count 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba, ba, ba. And that's where the guitar riff would stop. Now you can do a single hit. I think it's a single hit in the recording. Nothing wrong with the big flam there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just a bit bigger, a bit more exciting. Again, you know, for that excitement, that's absolutely fine. Then we've got the riff for 10 bars. So we're not actually doing anything for 10 bars, we're just letting the guitarist do their thing. When we come in, we're going to play our 8th note pattern, but we're dropping out the kick note. It only comes in, it's a 2-bar loop, so it only comes in when we loop those 2 bars together. So we get this effect. We'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, and 1. And it's the and 1 where we place our kick drum. Okay, so it's a full 8th note pattern, and then the kick note comes in every 2 bars, and I'll show you how that sounds here. I'll do it nice and slow to begin with, and then I'll up that tempo to somewhere around song speed. So we have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Okay, a little bit faster. The only thing that's missing is on beat number 1 of the very first loop. Only of the very, very first loop, we come in on a crash. And when we come in on a crash, we usually put something with a crash, either a snare drum or a kick drum, or sometimes both. With this, it's the kick drum. So we kick on beat number 1, but only on beat number 1 on that very, very first loop. After that, we're back into our 2-loop sequence. So you would get this effect. Okay, so the next part is the transition from that introduction part into the song proper. Okay, and we have a little drum fill there. We have a rhythm, 3 and a 4 and 1. Okay, now a lot of that is done on the kick drum. So there's a trickier version where we're using our foot quite a lot. We have 3 kick notes very close together. So I'll show you that version. But then there is a second version where we can use our toms to good effect, still keep that same rhythm, but without all those kick notes if you're struggling with your foot speed at this stage. So the first pattern is a good one to practice because it will develop the foot speed, but if you're struggling for the playthrough, stick with the tom pattern. Both sound exactly the same, both equally as good, well, exactly the same. But they both got the same rhythm is what I'm saying. So not to worry if you can't keep up with this first pattern, and I'll show you the second pattern after this. So what we have is 3 and a 4 and 1. And beat number 3, we're going to start on the snare drum. Now we can single stroke that or flam. I prefer the flam, but it's how quick you can do the sticking around, so whatever you prefer. So we have 3 and 4. Okay, so that's tom, rack, kick, 3 and a 4. Okay, and then we have and 1, and it's the and 1, and on beat number 1 we're going to crash, and 1. That's when we have the 3 kick notes coming in together, because we have 3 and 4 and 1. And then when we speed that up, that is quite quick on the kick pedal, as I've been saying. So nice and slow, this is what you should be getting. Excuse me. So you should be getting 3 and 4 and 1. Okay, so it's quite fast on the old kick pedal, but we can do the same thing working our way around the drums. So beat number 3, we're going to start on the snare drum as before. 3 and 4. So that I mean, it doesn't matter how you orchestrate it, but what I'm playing there is and 4. So 2 on your first rack tom, 4 to your second, and then the and is on your floor tom, and then 1 will kick that, as we always do, more or less, on the crash. So you get 3 and 4 and crash. So pattern number 1. Pattern number 2. Okay, so the drum fill gets us into the song proper, where we're into a regular 8th note pattern: kick and snare and kick and snare and kick and snare and kick and snare. I used to sort of mix that up just a little bit, give it a little bit more drive, a little bit more push. So don't be afraid to sort of push that kick drum. What I'm hearing in the recording is a 2-bar loop: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4. So we have this effect. Okay, so we're into the song proper now, and we're playing along, and all we've got to try and do is remember that we're going to stop, and we stop on those were the best days of my life. So you just got to make sure that you're going to crash on the word best days of my life, and we come back in on the word life. So we stop on the word best, those were the best days of my life, and we're back in on life. And that then gets us back into the song proper. I tend to go to the ride cymbal after the word life, and then do a little drum fill back into the hi-hats for the verse. So we get this thing. Okay, so a little drum fill. Again, it's a 1 bar fill, so boom da da da, boom da 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 da. 1 and a 2 and 3 and a 4 and. That's pretty much what I was doing there, I think. But it's a 1 bar fill, so we can go caterpillar, 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 caterpillar. But if we mix it up a little bit, it sounds nice. So that's 1 and a 2 and 3 and a 4 beat. There we go. So we've got 1 and a 2 and 3 and a 4 beat and. Okay, 1 and a 2 and 1 and a 2, 1 and a 2 and 3 and a 4 beat and. 1 and a 2 and 3 and a 4 beat and. Okay, so it doesn't matter what the fill is made up of, but it's a 1 bar fill there. I don't even think it's perhaps all there in the song. Again, it's not that important, but it's exciting. What we're trying to do is engage people here for our live gigs, which will hopefully, fingers crossed, with all the coronavirus that's going around, we'll still be able to do these gigs. And it's those drum fills that kind of create those exciting moments. The next part that we're going to have a look at now is going to be the drum break. And we have this little stop in the middle where it goes back to the guitar riff, and we play our sort of drum fill over going back into the main song. So that's what we'll be looking at next. Okay, so now we've got that little drum break. The drum break's made up of a series of 2 bars. So we have 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 4, 2, 3, 4, boom, ba, boom, boom, ba, boom, ba, and then we're kind of back out. So there's 8 bars altogether, but 4 counts of 2 bar loops. If we count them in 2 bar loops, we can kind of arrange those so that we know kind of what we're doing structurally. So that's kind of quite important. So in order to get into the drum break, we are playing, we're playing our 8th note pattern as we're playing along. And then we go 3 and 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay? And then into a crash. So that's the first part. That's getting into those counts of those 2 bar loops. Okay? So I'll do that again nice and slow. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's what we want. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. That's what we're after. Sometimes when I break these things down into sections, and not all flowing and whatever, sometimes it is a little bit tricky. Anyway, so we're there, we're in. 3, 4. Then we're starting our counts. On our first ones, the first counts, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, and 4. So we have long gaps in between these, okay? So, the sequence is going to be cymbal crash on the first loop, single crash on the second loop, and then we have our tom fill on the third loop. That's right. And then, so we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1. Boom, boom, pa. Okay, so we're kind of coming in on the and notes. 1, doom, boom, pa. 1, floor, tom, snare. 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, and there, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, snare. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So all together, get my little map out. So we're drumming along 3 and 4. That's how we're getting in. 2, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. 1. Okay, do that nice and slow. I'll do a playthrough with a YouTube link so that you can have a look and follow me what I'm doing all the way through. Hopefully that should get us through the playthrough. If there's other transitions or other moments in this song that you're really struggling with, send me a comment down in the link. I don't get very many comments from, I get a lot of views. I think we're up to sort of 300 to 300 views per video, but don't get very many comments on sort of people asking for help or tips. So don't be afraid to. We'll get back to you. And there we go. That's the main structure of the song with all those parts there. Fingers crossed that will get you through the playthrough. As I say, if you've got any questions, the playthrough is going to be on Friday, so get in touch with me before then and I'll give you a few tips and show you what to do. But don't forget to hit the link to the YouTube link at the bottom of here, and you'll be able to watch me do the whole playthrough. So good luck, see you soon.